各位记者朋友，大家。
Friends from the media, good afternoon. Welcome to today's press conference. Now, questions, please.
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问。
CCTV. Experts and scholars from Africa, including Wachira, former economist at the World Bank and advisor to the government of Kenya and a professor at the University of Yaoundé in Cameroon, noted in recent interviews that advancing modernization bears on the future of humanity and the well-being of people, and that China, in its cooperation with Africa, leaves the continent free to pursue modernization African style. And the two sides need to work together in their pursuit for modernization. What's your comment? What are the achievements China has made in advancing Africa's modernization, and what new measures can we expect? Realizing modernization is the common pursuit of China and African countries. China firmly supports Africa in exploring the path of independent development and focuses on the three areas where modernization is most needed. We launched the initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization and implemented the Plan for China supporting Africa's agricultural modernization and the Plan for China-Africa Cooperation on Talent Development under the framework of FOCAC to support Africa's development and prosperity with concrete steps. Infrastructure development is a priority. China has helped many African countries build their first motorway, first cross-sea bridge, and first industrial park, and also set up trade and economy is a leading area of cooperation. The China-Africa trade volume last year hit a record high of $182.1 billion. By the end of 2023, the stock of Chinese direct investments in Africa exceeded $40 billion. Over the past 3 years, we've helped create over 1.1 million jobs in Africa. Technology-driven development is a focus of cooperation. We carried out joint research in areas of sustainable energy, sustainable agriculture, and resources remote sensing, and deepened cooperation on satellites and aerospace, digital economy, batteries, and photovoltaic products. Improving people's well-being is our ultimate goal. A number of small yet smart projects have been implemented, such as the Luban Workshop, the program of access to satellite TV for 10,000 African villages, and so on. Our approach is teaching others how to fish. We've shared with Africa our experience in governance and poverty alleviation and help Africa transform its demographic advantage into human resources and advance modernization. At the China-Africa Think Tanks Forum in March this year, Chinese and African scholars reached the Dar es Salaam consensus, stressing that countries should choose development paths based on their own national conditions and cultural characteristics, jointly promote the building of an equal and orderly multipolar world and a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization, and address the structural difficulties constraining developing countries' modernization process. This thinking jumped out of the mindset of modernization equals westernization, expanded developing countries' choices of modernization path, and reflected the common aspiration of the global south. Both China and Africa aspire for a better life, agree on the importance of solidarity and cooperation, and seek to realize modernization. No matter how the international landscape may evolve, China and Africa will remain fellow passengers and good partners on the road to modernization. At the 2024 FOCAC Summit next week, Chinese and African leaders will explore cooperation and chart the course for the future under the theme of joining hands to advance modernization and build a high-level China-Africa community with a shared future. China stands ready to embark on a new journey with Africa toward modernization and jointly contribute to global modernization and the common development of mankind. Next one, please.
Thank you. Question for
阿纳多卢。以色列军队在被占领的巴勒斯坦西岸发动军事行动，对杰宁、图尔卡勒姆和图巴斯难民营进行突袭、空袭和破坏道路和建筑物。行动迄今已造成11名巴勒斯坦人死亡，若干人受伤。以色列外交部长卡茨呼吁巴勒斯坦平民暂时撤离。 并表示将采取一切必要措施来实施这一行动。联合国对让平民暴露于致命的战争战术中表示严重关切。中方对于当前冲突已从加沙蔓延至约旦河西岸有何评论？
中方
China is closely following the recent situation in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We're deeply concerned about the escalating situation in the West Bank. China opposes actions that fuel tensions and condemns all kinds of attacks on civilians. We call on all parties concerned, in particular Israel, to stay calm, exercise restraint, and prevent the situation from further escalating. Next one, please.
Thank you. Question from Reuters.
路透社，美国总统国际气候政策高级顾问波德斯塔将在9月的第一周会晤中国气候变化问题特使刘振明。中美两国在能源转型和减少温室气体排放方面有合作。中方希望与波德斯塔的会晤取得什么成果？
在王毅主任同沙利文助理
At this strategic communication between Director Wang Yi and Jake Sullivan, the two sides agreed to continue delivering on the important common understandings reached by the two presidents in San Francisco and conduct cooperation to respond to climate change. For the specifics, I'd refer you to competent authorities. Next one, please.
A question from the New York Times.
纽约时报关于中美两国领导人会晤有没有进一步的消息？
关于王毅主任
About the strategic communication between Director Wang Yi and Jake Sullivan, the Chinese side released a readout. The Chinese side and the American side had discussions about the recent developments and have nothing new to offer. Next question, please.
谢谢发言人。环球时报记者提问：近期拉美
Global Times. Recently, many Latin American countries have expressed their dissatisfaction with and protest against the U.S. interference. In a response to U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, who said something inappropriate on Mexico's judicial reform, Mexican President said that Mexico is not a colony of any foreign country, and the U.S. has to learn to respect the sovereignty of Mexico. Honduran President said that it condemned the U.S. that its interference and interventionism violate international law. Cuba's foreign minister said on social media that Cuba is closely aware of the destabilizing activities of the NED disguised in the name of democracy values. Venezuela accused the U.S. of interfering in its election, and Bolivia also said it was pressured by Northern power after expressing its interest in joining BRICS. What's your comment? China noted the development. For the past 200 years, the U.S. Monroe Doctrine may have been described, but hegemonism and power politics is still in the U.S. DNA. China firmly supports the just position of Latin American countries on opposing foreign interference and safeguarding national sovereignty. The U.S. should not turn a deaf ear to the legitimate concerns and the just call by Latin American countries and do whatever it wants. We urge the U.S. side to renounce its outdated Monroe Doctrine and interventionism and stop unilateral actions of bullying, coercion, sanctions, and blockade. The U.S. should develop relations and have mutually beneficial cooperation with regional countries based on mutual respect, equality, and non-interference. The trend of seeking independence and seeking strength through unity among Latin American countries is unstoppable, and the U.S. hegemonism, power politics, will win no support and be consigned to the dustbin of history. Next one, please.
Ukraine Foreign News Agency.
乌克兰国家通讯社中国政府特别代表李辉在2天前的吹风会上表示，中方担心西方对乌使用援助武器打击俄罗斯不断扩翻条件。你能否解释一下中方对这一局势的担忧究竟是什么原因？在同样的背景下，你如何评论自战争开始以来，俄罗斯军方一直在大量使用伊朗的攻击型无人机，最近还使用了朝鲜的导弹袭击乌克兰的城市。
据我所知，
As I have learned, what you mentioned about the briefing doesn't square with the facts. Now, there is widespread concern about further escalation and spillover of the crisis, which in the international community, they believe that the pressing priority is de-escalation of the situation, and China calls upon all parties to abide by the principle of no expansion of the battlefield, no escalation of fighting, and no provocation of any third party. Parties concerned should exercise calm and prevent actions that could further escalate the situation. Next one, please.
A question from the New York Times.
纽约时报通过广泛的讨论，在王毅和沙利文之间广泛的讨论，中方是否试图建立中美关系中的稳定性？我是指对于明年来说。
关于王毅主任同
About the strategic communication between Director Wang Yi and Jake Sullivan, the Chinese side has released a detailed readout. Director Wang Yi said in the communication that the relations between two countries have to grow in a right direction, and the key is under the guideline of two countries' presidents, and the key is to stay committed to the 3 joint U.S. communiques. The two sides need to treat each other well, and the key priority for two countries to get along well with each other is to have good people-to-people exchanges, and the right perception toward each other is also very important. As regard to the detailed information, I'd refer you to the readout. Next one, please.
Question. Question for
阿纳多卢，美国和中国在王毅和沙利文的战略对话中，双方决定领导人进行通话。 那么领导人会不会进行面对面的会见？在拜登政府结束任期之前，两国领导人会否进行面对面的会面？双方是否讨论了这一议题？
我刚才已经回答了。
I just taken this question. In the strategic communication between the two sides, China and the United States discussed with each other the visits of the presidents, and I have nothing new to offer. Next one, please.
还有其他问题吗？
Are there any more questions?
好，那今天的。
If not, then let's call it a day. Thank you very much.